In the small, tired town of Millbrook, Emily Roberts woke up before the sun, her fingers cold and stiff from the early morning chill. The small apartment she shared with her younger brother Thomas was quiet, with only the soft hum of the old refrigerator breaking the silence. She looked at Thomas, still asleep, his school bag thrown carelessly on the chair, and felt a wave of responsibility wash over her. Life had not been kind to the Roberts family. 2 years ago, their father lost his job at the local steel factory when the company decided to cut costs. Their mother, who had always worked part-time at the local grocery store, had fallen ill and could no longer work. The burden of survival fell squarely on Emily's young shoulders. At just 23, Emily worked 2 jobs to keep the family afloat. Her morning began at the small bakery on Main Street, where she arrived before dawn to prepare fresh bread and pastries. The bakery owner, Mr. Williams, was kind, but knew times were tough. He couldn't pay her much, but every penny counted. After her morning shift, Emily would rush to clean offices downtown, her hands rough from washing dishes and scrubbing floors. She would often think about Thomas, worried about how the family's financial struggles were affecting him. He was a bright boy, but she could see the strain of their situation in his tired eyes. Some mornings, Thomas would help her pack lunches, simple sandwiches made from day-old bread from the bakery and whatever vegetables they could afford. They had learned to be creative with little. Emily would slip an extra sandwich into his bag, making sure he had enough to eat at school. The apartment was small but clean. Emily took pride in keeping their living space neat, believing that a tidy home could bring some sense of normalcy to their challenging life. She would wash their clothes in the shared laundry room of their apartment complex, carefully counting each coin for the washing machine. At night, after her cleaning jobs, Emily would sit with Thomas at their small kitchen table. She would help him with homework, her own exhaustion hidden behind a warm smile. Thomas knew how hard his sister worked. Sometimes he would try to help by doing extra chores or finding small ways to save money. Their neighborhood wasn't rich, but it had a sense of community. Neighbors would sometimes leave extra vegetables or baked goods at their door, understanding the silent struggle many families faced. Mrs. Peterson from next door would occasionally invite Thomas over for a hot meal, knowing the family's tight budget. Emily's dreams of going to college had been put on hold. Instead, she had become the backbone of their family, sacrificing her own ambitions to ensure Thomas could have a better future. She believed education was his ticket out of their current circumstances. Despite the challenges, Emily remained hopeful. She would often tell Thomas, "We might not have much money, but we have each other." Her positive attitude was a shield against the hardships they faced daily. She believed that hard work and determination could change their lives. The winter was particularly tough that year. Their heating was inconsistent, and Emily would use extra blankets to keep Thomas warm at night. She would wear an extra layer of clothing to work, saving every bit of money for their essential needs. At the bakery, Emily learned quickly. Mr. Williams saw her potential and sometimes gave her extra responsibilities. She was reliable, always, on time, and worked harder than anyone else. Her hands, once soft, were now strong and capable, telling stories of her daily struggles. Thomas was doing well at school despite their financial challenges. His teachers noticed his potential and often provided extra support. Emily was grateful for their kindness, understanding that sometimes a small act of support could make a big difference in a child's life. As the first rays of sunlight began to peek through their small apartment window, Emily started preparing for another day. She looked at Thomas, still peacefully asleep, and felt a surge of love and determination. Their journey was difficult, but they would face it together. Her story was not unique in Millbrook. Many families were struggling, fighting daily battles against poverty and uncertainty. But Emily represented hope, a young woman who refused to be defeated by circumstances, who believed in the power of hard work and family love. Thomas sat quietly, in the back of the classroom, his eyes fixed on the worn-out textbook in front of him. The past few months had been challenging. His classmates seemed to find every opportunity to make him feel different, whispering and laughing whenever he walked by. His second-hand clothes, slightly faded and often mended, made him stand out in ways he didn't want. At lunch, he would find a quiet corner, avoiding the bustling cafeteria where groups of students laughed and shared food. Emily had packed him a simple sandwich, wrapped carefully in brown paper. He appreciated her efforts, but the loneliness was becoming unbearable. One particularly difficult day, a group of boys knocked his lunch bag to the floor. Books scattered and his carefully prepared sandwich fell apart. The laughter echoed through the hallway, cutting deeper than any physical hurt. Thomas felt invisible yet simultaneously targeted. Mr. Peterson, his mathematics teacher, noticed the change in Thomas. The once vibrant student was becoming withdrawn, his grades slowly slipping. During a quiet moment after class, he approached Thomas. "Is everything okay?" he asked, his voice gentle and concerned. Thomas wanted to speak, to explain the constant struggle at home, the pressure he felt to do well, the bullying that made each school day a challenge, but words failed him. He simply nodded, his eyes avoiding direct contact. Emily began to notice the changes in her brother. His once bright smile had disappeared, replaced by a quiet sadness that worried her deeply. During their evening study sessions, she could see the weight of his struggles. Thomas was trying to hide his pain, but she knew him too well. One evening, she decided to take action. "Tell me what's happening at school," she said, her voice soft but firm. It took time, but Thomas slowly began to open up. He spoke about the bullying, the constant feeling of being different, the economic challenges that made him feel less than others. Emily's heart broke. She remembered her own school struggles, the times she had to wear patched clothes and deal with whispers. But she had protected her brother from those memories, always wanting him to feel confident and strong. The local community center became their lifeline. Emily approached the center's director, explaining Thomas's situation. Together, they developed a plan. After-school tutoring programs, support groups, and mentorship opportunities began to take shape. Mr. Peterson became an unexpected ally. He started a study group that welcomed students from all backgrounds. Thomas found himself surrounded by other students who were struggling, creating a support network that slowly rebuilt his confidence. Emily worked extra shifts to ensure Thomas could participate in these programs. She would wake up earlier, take on additional cleaning jobs, all to provide her brother with opportunities she never had. Her determination knew no bounds. The community center became a beacon of hope. Local businesses began to donate books, supplies, and even clothing for students in need. Thomas received his first new jacket, not a hand-me-down or second-hand item, but something chosen just for him. Slowly, things began to change. Thomas started making friends. A group of students who had also faced challenges began to support each other. They would study together, share lunch, and create a small but powerful support network. Emily watched these changes with tears in her eyes. Her sacrifices were paying off. Thomas was becoming more confident, his grades improving, his spirit lifting. The boy who once felt invisible was finding his voice. The local newspaper even did a small story about the community center's support programs. Thomas was interviewed, speaking about the importance of support and understanding. His words were simple but powerful, touching many in the community. As winter approached, Thomas realized something important. The challenges hadn't defeated him. They had made him stronger. The support from his sister, his teacher, and the community center had transformed his struggle into strength. Emily would often remind him, "We are more than our circumstances. We are defined by our hope, our love, and our determination." These words became Thomas's mantra, a reminder that no challenge was too great to overcome. The story of Thomas and Emily was becoming a testament to the power of family, community, and unwavering support. Their journey was far from over, but they were facing it together one day at a time. The community center buzzed with energy on that crisp autumn morning. Emily stood near the window, organizing papers and preparing for another day of support programs. Her hands moved quickly, but her mind was racing with possibilities and hopes for the future. Richard Thompson, a local businessman, had been watching the center's activities for weeks. He was not the typical wealthy businessman people might imagine. His own childhood had been filled with struggles, and he understood the value of community support. That morning, he walked into the center with a purpose. Emily was arranging chairs for the afternoon tutoring session when he approached her. Her worn sweater and tired eyes told a story of constant hard work and determination. "I've been watching what you're doing here," Richard said, his voice calm and measured. Emily felt a mix of nervousness and hope. She had learned to be cautious of unexpected opportunities, knowing life had rarely been kind to her family. The community center had become more than just a building. It was a lifeline for families struggling in Millbrook. Children like Thomas found hope within its walls. Families discovered support, education, and a sense of belonging that they had never experienced before. Emily's program was simple but powerful. She created spaces where children could learn, where families could find resources, and where community members could connect. Her approach was straightforward. Everyone deserved a chance, regardless of their background. Richard listened as Emily explained the center's programs. She spoke about Thomas, about the children who had found support, about the families who were slowly rebuilding their lives. Her passion was evident in every word, every gesture. The local council had started to take notice. Small grants were coming in, but they were never enough. Emily had been running programs on a shoestring budget, using her own money and recruiting volunteers who believed in the mission. Thomas had become an integral part of the center's success. He helped younger children with homework, assisted in organizing events, and shared his own story of transformation. His journey inspired other students who felt lost and hopeless. Richard saw something special in Emily's approach. Her ability to create community, to build hope from almost nothing, was remarkable. He had seen many nonprofit efforts fail, but this was different. This was genuine, grassroots change. "I want to help," Richard said suddenly. Emily looked at him, uncertain. Help could mean many things in her experience, but Richard was genuine. He proposed providing administrative support, helping her expand the center's reach. The job offer was more than just employment. It was a flexible position that would allow Emily to continue her community work. She could support her family, continue running the center, and create more opportunities for others. Thomas was the first to hear the news. His sister's excitement was infectious. "This could change everything," Emily told him, her eyes bright with possibility. For the first time in years, they could see a potential path out of constant financial struggle. The community center began to transform. More volunteers came forward. Local businesses started donating resources. The program that began with Emily's determination was becoming a movement of hope and support. Local schools started referring students to the center. Teachers who had once been skeptical now saw the profound impact of Emily's work. Children who were struggling found a safe space to learn, grow, and believe in themselves. Richard became more than just a supporter. He became a mentor, helping Emily develop sustainable programs. He understood that true change came from empowering people, not just providing temporary solutions. Winter was approaching, but the center was warm with hope. Families who had once felt isolated now had a community. Children who had struggled now had support. Emily's vision was becoming a reality, one small step at a time. Thomas watched his sister with pride. She had transformed their family's struggle into a beacon of hope for an entire community. Her determination had created something bigger than themselves. The story of Millbrook was changing, and at its heart was Emily, a young woman who refused to accept that circumstances defined a person's potential. Her journey was proving that with love, dedication, and community support, anything was possible. The Millbrook Community Center had become a lifeline for many. Emily's vision was spreading like a warm light across the town, touching lives in ways no one had expected. Winter was settling in, but the center burned bright with hope and possibility. Thomas had started a homework club that quickly became the heart of the center's activities. Every afternoon, students from different backgrounds would gather, sharing books, helping each other, and creating friendships that crossed previous social boundaries. Local businesses began to take notice. The bakery, where Emily once worked, started donating bread for the after-school programs. Mr. Williams, the bakery owner, would bring fresh rolls and pastries, watching with pride as the children learned and grew. Volunteers started coming from everywhere. Retired teachers, college students, and local professionals began spending their free time at the center. They saw something special happening, a genuine transformation of the community's spirit. Sarah Peterson, a retired librarian, started a reading program for younger children. She would sit in the corner of the center, surrounded by excited kids, bringing stories to life with her animated storytelling. Children who had struggled with reading now looked forward to these magical afternoons. The local council took serious notice of the center's impact. What had started as a small initiative was now showing measurable results. School attendance improved, student performance was climbing, families were finding support and hope. Thomas became a key part of the transformation. The once shy boy was now confident, helping younger students and sharing his own story of overcoming challenges. His journey inspired other children who felt lost or struggling. Emily's administrative job with Richard Thompson allowed her to expand the center's reach. They developed programs targeting specific community needs, job training for adults, after school, support for children, and resources for struggling families. The town began to change. Neighbors who had previously avoided each other now worked together. The community center became a melting pot of support, breaking down invisible barriers that had existed for years. Local businesses started a donation program. Small contributions came from everywhere: the hardware store, the local garage, the small grocery shop. Each donation, no matter how small, felt like a vote of confidence in the community's future. Winter brought unique challenges, but the center was prepared. They created a warm clothing drive, collecting jackets, mittens, and scarves for families in need. Children who once felt cold and forgotten now felt the warmth of community support. Richard Thompson's involvement brought unexpected resources. He connected the center with larger businesses, creating internship opportunities for older students. Suddenly, young people who had seen no future began to dream of possibilities. The homework club became more than just a study space. It was a place of connection, of hope, of understanding. Students who struggled began to find their confidence. Those who were doing well started mentoring others. Local schools started recommending the center to families. Teachers saw the profound impact of the community support. Students who had been falling behind were now catching up, some even beginning to excel. Emily watched these changes with a mixture of pride and humble amazement. Her small dream was becoming a powerful movement. The center was proving that community support could change lives one person at a time. Thomas was thriving. His grades improved, his confidence soared, and he became a leader among his peers. The boy who once felt invisible was now helping others find their voice and their potential. The local newspaper did a feature on the community center. Emily was interviewed, speaking simply and honestly about the power of support and community. Her words touched people across the town and beyond. Funding began to come from unexpected places. Small grants, community donations, and local business support started to create a sustainable model for the center's programs. What had begun as a desperate hope was becoming a lasting solution. As the winter days grew shorter, the community center's light grew brighter. It was more than a building now. It was a symbol of what could happen when people came together, when they chose hope over despair, when they believed in each other. Emily would often look around the center, seeing the faces of children learning, families finding support, and community members connecting. This was more than just a program. This was a transformation of hope. 5 years had passed since Emily first started the community center. The small town of Millbrook looked different now, more hopeful, more connected. Thomas stood on the stage of the local community hall, preparing to give a speech that would change everything. He had been accepted to university, the first in his family to pursue higher education. But this was more than a personal achievement. It was a testament to the power of community support, of never giving up. Emily sat in the front row, tears in her eyes. She remembered the struggling young boy who had once been bullied, who had felt invisible. Now Thomas was a confident young man, ready to share his story with the entire town. The hall was packed. Local business owners, teachers, community members, and families who had been helped by the center filled every seat. Richard Thompson sat nearby, a proud smile on his face. He had become more than a supporter. He was now a true friend to Emily and Thomas. Thomas spoke about their journey. He talked about the struggles, the moments of doubt, and the incredible support they had received. He shared how the community center had transformed not just his life, but the lives of countless others in Millbrook. The impact was clear. School. Performance had improved dramatically. More students were graduating, finding opportunities they never thought possible. The community center had become a beacon of hope, a place where people could find support, education, and connection. Emily looked around the room. Mrs. Peterson, the retired librarian, was wiping away tears. Mr. Williams from the bakery sat proudly, remembering the young girl who had once worked for him. The room was filled with people whose lives had been touched by their work. After the speech, people came forward to share their stories. A young woman talked about finding her first job through the center's support programs. A single father spoke about how the homework club had helped his children succeed in school. Richard Thompson approached the stage, announcing a new scholarship program for students from the community center. It would provide full tuition for one student each year, continuing the cycle of hope and opportunity. The local council had recognized the center's impact. What had started as a small initiative was now a model for community support that other towns were beginning to follow. Emily's vision had grown far beyond her initial dreams. Thomas's university acceptance was just the beginning. Other students from the center were now pursuing higher education, breaking cycles of poverty and limited opportunities. The community was transforming, one life at a time. Emily reflected on their journey. The countless early mornings, the extra shifts, the moments of doubt and struggle, they had all led to this. She had sacrificed her own dreams to support Thomas, but now she saw those dreams realized in a way she never expected. The community center continued to grow. New programs were developed, addressing the evolving needs of Millbrook. Job training, adult education, children's support. The center had become a comprehensive resource for the entire community. As the evening wound down, Thomas hugged his sister. "We did it," he whispered. Emily smiled, knowing that "we" was the most important word. This was never about one person, but about an entire community coming together. Outside, the town of Millbrook looked different. Streets that had once seemed tired and worn now bustled with energy. Small businesses were thriving. Children walked with confidence. The community had found its hope. Richard approached Emily, discussing plans for expanding the center's reach. What had started as a small dream was now a powerful movement of community support and transformation. Thomas prepared to leave for university, but he wasn't really leaving. He would continue to support the center, to be a mentor, to give back to the community that had supported him. His journey was just beginning. The story of Emily, Thomas, and the Millbrook Community Center was more than just a personal triumph. It was a powerful reminder of what could happen when people came together, when they chose hope over despair, when they believed in the power of community. As night fell over Millbrook, the community center stood as a beacon of light, a symbol of what was possible when people truly supported one another.